Tom Sanders wiped the sweat from his forehead as he stepped out of his small, rusty pickup truck. The morning sun had barely risen over the quiet country town, and the cold air made his fingers stiff. Life had not been kind to him since his wife, Lily, passed away 5 years ago. Raising his daughter, Emma, alone was the hardest job he had ever faced. Every day, he worked long hours fixing engines, tractors, and farm equipment. But no matter how hard he tried, it was never enough. Bills piled up, groceries ran low, and Emma's needs were always at the front of his mind. Yet, through it all, her cheerful laughter and kind eyes gave him strength to keep moving forward. That morning, Tom's truck rattled down a dusty road as he drove to a job at a nearby farm. The tires kicked up clouds of dirt, and the engine coughed from years of heavy use. Just as he rounded a bend, he noticed a sleek, shiny car parked near a field. It looked completely out of place amid the mud and grass. Next to the car, a woman in an expensive coat and polished boots was staring at a large tractor. Her brows were furrowed and her lips pressed tightly together. She looked frustrated, helpless, and slightly anxious. Tom's curiosity piqued. He slowed his truck and watched her for a moment. She clearly needed help. He parked and approached cautiously. "Morning, ma'am. Do you need a hand?" he asked. His voice was calm, polite, and full of warmth. The woman looked at him, eyes wide, unsure whether to trust this stranger. There was something about the way he carried himself, humble, tired, yet confident, that made her feel safe. Finally, she nodded. "Yes, please." "The tractor just stopped, and I have no idea what to do," she said, her voice slightly shaky. Tom knelt beside the tractor and began examining the engine. His hands moved quickly, but with careful precision. He checked the belts, the filters, and the spark plugs, looking for anything that could cause the engine to stall. He didn't have fancy tools, just the ones he carried in his worn-out toolbox, but he knew them like the back of his hand. The woman watched silently, her eyes following every move. Tom noticed that despite her wealthy appearance, there was humility in her gaze, a recognition that she could not solve this problem alone. After a few minutes, he found the issue, a clogged fuel filter and a loose belt. He replaced the filter and tightened the belt with care. Sweat dripped down his face, but he didn't stop until he was satisfied that everything was working perfectly. He turned the key, and the tractor roared to life. The woman's eyes lit up with surprise and delight. "Oh my goodness! It's working! I can't believe it!" she exclaimed. Tom smiled, brushing his hands on his jeans. "Just needed a little attention. Tractors are like people sometimes. They just need care and patience." The woman laughed softly. "I don't even know your name," she said. "Tom Sanders," he replied. "And you are?" "Rebecca Moore," she said, still amazed at the working tractor. She reached into her handbag and pulled out a check. "Here, please take this for your trouble." Tom looked at it and shook his head firmly. "No, ma'am. I don't take more than what's fair. Just pay for the parts. That's enough." Rebecca was stunned. Most people would have accepted the money without question. "Are you sure?" she asked, holding the check tightly. "Yes," Tom said with a small, tired smile. "I fix machines, not take charity. You only need to cover the parts." She finally nodded, touched by his honesty and humility. "Well, thank you for your help," she said. "I'm not used to people like you anymore." Tom waved and turned to leave. But as he was about to get into his truck, he noticed a small figure sitting quietly a few feet away. It was a young girl with bright eyes and a gentle smile, scribbling something on a worn notebook. Emma was his daughter, and although her clothes were patched and worn, her spirit shone brightly. Rebecca's gaze softened. "Your daughter?" she asked. "Yes," Tom replied proudly. Smartest girl I know." Rebecca watched them drive away, feeling a strange mix of emotions. She had never met people like them before, a poor father and daughter, living with so little, yet showing dignity, kindness, and pride. She couldn't stop thinking about them as she walked back to her large, cold house. She had money, comfort, and all the things most people dream of. Yet seeing Tom and Emma made her realize something was missing in her own life. A genuine connection, honesty, and warmth. A few days later, Rebecca could not stop thinking about Tom. She had asked her estate manager to locate the paperwork for the family's old farm equipment, which had been stored away in the barn. She wanted him to check all of it, to ensure nothing was broken or neglected. When Tom returned, she greeted him warmly, offering him tea and a warm meal. Emma ran around, laughing, and Rebecca felt a sense of happiness she hadn't known in years. The father and daughter brought life and laughter into the cold, empty estate. Tom worked tirelessly over the next few weeks. He repaired old tractors, fixed fences, and even taught the estate workers how to maintain equipment properly. Each day, he returned home exhausted, yet content. Emma often helped him, holding tools or handing him bolts. She loved watching her father work and learning from him. Rebecca observed them quietly, noticing how much love and care filled their small, modest home. One afternoon, Rebecca finally shared a small secret. She told Tom stories about her late father and the estate, hinting at some of the family's past difficulties. Tom listened respectfully, never prying, just nodding and offering gentle smiles. Rebecca felt comfort in his presence. She knew there was something special about him, a man who had suffered loss but continued to give love and care unconditionally. Emma, too, began to warm up to Rebecca. She brought flowers from the yard to her porch, showed her drawings, and shared stories from school. Rebecca laughed along with Emma, realizing that the little girl had a pure heart and a bright mind. Every day, the bond between the two families grew stronger, bridging the gap between wealth and struggle, showing that kindness and respect could cross any social boundary. Yet, Rebecca carried a secret, something she had discovered while going through old estate documents. She hadn't told Tom yet, but it weighed heavily on her heart. Every time she saw Emma smile or Tom work with quiet pride, tears threatened to fall. She knew that one day, this secret would change everything. But for now, she waited, letting life unfold naturally, savoring the simple moments with them, a shared cup of coffee, a repaired tractor, laughter echoing across the fields. Tom, unaware of Rebecca's knowledge, continued working with unwavering dedication. He did not know that the small acts of kindness he had shown, helping a stranger and teaching a young girl about the value of hard work, would soon lead to something life-changing. All he knew was that he was doing what he loved, fixing machines, caring for his daughter, and surviving one day at a time. And in that quiet town, under the golden sun and dusty roads, a humble mechanic, his bright daughter, and a wealthy woman had begun a story, one that would weave together grief, kindness, and the power of secrets, waiting for the right moment to reveal itself. Weeks passed, and Tom Sanders became a familiar face at Rebecca Moore's estate. Every morning, he would arrive with Emma riding alongside him on the old pickup truck, bringing with them laughter, chatter, and the smell of fresh coffee. Tom repaired tractors, mended fences, and taught the estate workers small tricks to care for their equipment properly. He didn't charge more than necessary, and he always worked with pride. As though each repair carried a piece of his own heart, Rebecca watched them quietly most days, smiling at the small acts of love between father and daughter. Emma would often bring her hand-drawn pictures to Rebecca, proudly showing horses, flowers, and even a tractor or two. Rebecca would praise her, asking questions and pretending to be curious, though in truth, Every detail Emma shared filled her with warmth and a strange sense of connection she hadn't felt in years. One afternoon, after the sun had begun to dip behind the hills, Rebecca invited Tom into the house. He was wiping grease from his hands on a rag, his jacket streaked with oil. He paused at the door, unsure what she wanted. "Thank you for coming, Tom," she said softly. "I want to show you something. Something important." Tom followed her inside, Emma trailing behind, clutching her notebook filled with drawings. Rebecca led them to a small room in the house, lined with old photographs and stacks of letters. She picked up a framed picture of a young man and woman holding a newborn child. Tom froze. The woman in the photo looked familiar, but it took him a moment to place her. "Lily," he whispered, his voice trembling. "That's my wife." Rebecca nodded, her eyes moist with tears. "Yes, Lily Sanders. She worked here for my father years ago. She was not just kind. She was brilliant, careful, and brave. She helped my father avoid mistakes that could have ruined our family business." Tom's hands shook slightly as he held the frame. I never knew," he stammered. "She never said anything about this." Rebecca took a deep breath. She wanted to help quietly. She never wanted recognition. "But before she left your life, she asked my father to promise that if anything ever happened to her, he would ensure her family was cared for. When he passed, the promise was lost in paperwork. I only discovered it recently while reviewing old letters and records." Tom's eyes filled with tears. He could barely speak. "You're saying she wanted us to be helped?" he whispered. "After everything, she thought of us?" Rebecca nodded, her own voice catching. "Yes, that's why I asked you to come here. Not just to repair the tractors, but because I wanted you and Emma to have what she wanted you to have. It's not charity. It's a promise fulfilled." She handed him an envelope. Inside were legal papers transferring ownership of the old workshop and equipment to Tom's name. He could hardly believe it. His heart pounded as he read through the documents. A proper repair shop, just like Lily had dreamed of. A chance to finally build a life that was stable, secure, and full of dignity. Tom's voice was choked with emotion. I don't know what to say. I've worked so hard just to survive. To feed Emma. And now, this?" Rebecca smiled gently. "You don't need to say anything. Just promise to keep building, keep caring for her memory, and keep teaching your daughter the value of hard work and love. That's all that matters." Emma stepped forward, wrapping her small arms around Tom's leg. "Thank you, ma'am," she whispered. "This is the best day ever." Rebecca knelt to meet Emma's eyes. "You're welcome, sweetheart. Your father is a good man. You both deserve this." Over the next few months, Tom transformed the old workshop into a proper repair shop. The town's farmers and workers came from miles around, bringing their tractors, trucks, and equipment. Tom worked tirelessly, teaching his small team of helpers the same lessons he had learned about care, patience, and respect. Every time he fixed a machine, he remembered Lily and the secret she had left behind, filling him with a quiet pride. Rebecca continued to visit, not as a boss or employer, but as a friend. She brought Emma treats, offered advice, and occasionally helped with paperwork around the shop. The bond between the three of them grew deeper every day. Rebecca realized that what she had given to Tom and Emma was more than just property or money. It was trust, respect, and a sense of belonging. One evening, as the sun cast golden light across the fields, Tom stepped outside the workshop, wiping his hands on a rag. He looked at the sign above the door, Lily's Repair and Restoration. His eyes filled with tears, and he swallowed hard to keep from crying. It was more than a shop. It was a symbol of hope, of resilience, and of the love that had been lost but never forgotten. Rebecca approached silently. "It's beautiful, isn't it?" she said softly. Tom nodded, his voice trembling. I never imagined fixing old tractors could change my life. I thought it was just work, just surviving. But now, he paused, taking a deep breath. Now it feels like I'm part of something bigger. Something my wife would have been proud of. Rebecca smiled, watching the father and daughter together. Sometimes, she said, it's not the machines we fix that matter most. It's the people, the hearts we touch along the way. Tom looked at her, understanding exactly what she meant. He had seen kindness in strangers before, but this was different. It was a gift carried across time, through grief and struggle, culminating in a chance to rebuild, to thrive, and to honor the memory of the one he loved most. Emma ran to him, tugging at his hand. Daddy, look! I drew our shop. She held up a page covered in bright colors, showing tractors, tools, and even herself and her father. Tom laughed through his tears, taking her into a tight hug. It's perfect, Emma. Absolutely perfect. And in that quiet country town, life slowly changed for Tom and Emma. What had started as a simple act, fixing a broken tractor, had grown into something far greater. A rich woman's secret, a promise kept, and the memory of a beloved wife had converged to create a new beginning. The days were still long, and work was never easy. But for the first time in years, Tom felt a sense of peace. He had security, a future, and most importantly, a chance to raise Emma in a life filled with love and hope. And every evening, as the sun dipped behind the hills, the laughter of father and daughter echoed across the fields, joined by Rebecca's gentle presence, forming a small, unbreakable circle of care, trust, and gratitude. Tom often paused to look at the workshop, remembering Lily's quiet wisdom and kindness. He knew that without her secret, none of this would have been possible. Tears often filled his eyes, not from sadness, but from gratitude for his wife, for Rebecca, and for the simple yet powerful chance to rebuild their lives. In the end, what began as a broken tractor, a tired mechanic, and a helpless woman in need had turned into a story of generosity, love, and hope. A story proving that even in the hardest times, small acts of kindness and the secrets of those who love us most can change everything. And so, Tom, Emma, and Rebecca moved forward, each day stronger than the last, carrying with them a shared belief that the heart, when guided by love and honesty, can rebuild more than machines. It can rebuild life itself.